Hey guys, and welcome to VEDA Day 6. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to make a granny square. This is just a 2-row granny square. I will show you how to make more rows, but this is just the basic starter for a granny square. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start our granny square, it's pretty much the same thing I've showed you guys before. You need to get your stitch onto your hook. In this case, we're going to chain 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch to create our ring. Okay. Alright, so now we have our ring. I'm going to flip this over here and get it out of the way. Now, the first thing we want to do with this, and what we're doing right now, is we're creating our corners. At first, it's not going to look like it, but you'll see it eventually shape. So the first thing we're going to do, and that would be my dogs. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. Jasper, shush. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And the next thing we're going to do is 2 double crochets. So you guys should know how to do that by now. And if not, go back and check out that video. I believe it's VEDA Day 1. Okay, so this is going to be one of our corners right here. These 3. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and that makes our next corner. Next thing we're going to do is chain 2 and 3 double crochets again. This is going to make our third corner. You guys can probably figure that out by now. 2, and 3. You guys can probably figure out the last step of this portion. We're going to chain 2 and make our last corner, which is 3 double crochets. So just to recap, while I'm finishing this up, the first corner was a chain 3 and then 2 double crochets, and then everything after that is 2 chains, 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. So to finish this, we're going to chain 2 and we're going to slip stitch into our third chain that we made when we did the original thing. So we're going to slip stitch into that. Make sure you get the whole loop, not just one piece of it, and slip stitch. Okay, so now we have our starter. Now it kind of looks like a circle, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But if you look, you can see where we're going to have our corners. So here's a corner, here's a corner, here's a corner, and here's a corner. So you can kind of see where it's going to square out. And the next row is really what's going to make it square out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 2, and this is going to bring us up to our next row. And we're going to turn our work. So now what we want to do is we want to work in our corners. So obviously in our corners, if we were to just do 3 double crochets and move on to the next one, you're going to end up with this circle. So we need to make sure that in the corners of each row going all the way up, you make new corners. So to make new corners, we have our chain 2. That counts as our first. We're going to move to half double crochets also, by the way. Our chain 2 counts as our first one. So we need to do a second half double crochet and a third half double crochet. Now, if you want, you can keep going with double crochets. I just prefer the half double crochet for the project that I'm working on right now. So now we have 1, 2, and 3. Remember, your first one is your chain 2. We're going to chain 2, and in the same stitch, because we're making a corner, we're going to do 3 more half double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So now we've made our corner here. This is going to be our corner. Okay? So now we need to move on to the next corner. To do that, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to move on to here. Now we're going to do 3 double crochets into our next corner. I'm sorry, 3 half double crochets into our next corner. 1, 2, 3. And because we're in a corner, we need to create our corner again. This second row is probably the weirdest row you're going to do. Chain 2, and then 3 more half double crochets to complete this corner. 1, there we go. 1, 2, oh, oops, sorry guys. 1, 2, and 3. And that completes our corner there. So now we're going to chain 2. You guys can probably guess. We're going to do 3 in this one, and then we're going to chain 2. We're going to do 3 in this one, chain 2, 3 more in this one, chain 2, and then move on to this one. It'll be 3, 2, 3. So I'll come back when we get to the very end. Okay, so I've just done the last double crochet, and we're going to chain 2, and we're going to connect it into, obviously, our chain from over here. Okay, and we're going to slip stitch that. Okay, so now, for the project that I'm doing, this is all that I need, but I'm going to show you how to move on, so that way if you want to make it bigger, you can. So, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before, and you're just going to keep going around, and you should be pretty, you don't need to be super smart to figure out what to do. So, we're going to chain our 2, and we're going to flip our work. Now, here are our corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we're working this way around. This is a middle one, so our middle ones are just going to get our little cluster of 3 double crochets. So your chain 2 counts as 1. This is going to be our 2, and I'm sorry, I keep saying double crochets. These are half double crochets. Okay. So there is our little cluster. We're going to chain 2 and move on to our corner. So if you guys have been paying attention, in our corner, we need to make a new corner. So we're going to half double crochet 3 times. If I can get it in there. 1, 2, 3, chain 2. We're going to stay in the same corner because we want to keep our corner. 1, 2, and 3. So the things you want to keep in mind when you're doing this is in your corners, you want to do 3, chain 2, 3. If you're in a knot corner like this next one, you're just going to do a cluster of 3 half double crochets. So we would be doing 2 chains here, and then 3, and 2 chains, and then we're going to come over to our corner and make the 2 sections. Okay? So now when you do this, if I were to go all the way around, you can keep going all the way around over and over and over again until you make a giant blanket. You can use cotton yarn, and you can make dishcloths. I mean, there are tons and tons of things you can do. When I first learned how to crochet, this is what I learned how to do. I learned how to make granny squares, and I made a giant blanket. And when I say giant, it was a giant blanket. It probably fit a twin-sized bed, and for a 12-year-old girl, it's pretty good. And I also made some pot holders, and I made a purse. I made 2 sides of the same side, and then I sewed it all the way around, and then I put fabric inside to line it. So there's tons of different things you can do with granny squares. This is just your basic granny square. There are tons and tons of different kinds of granny squares. This is your most basic, and this is the one that most people know. I'm just going to tie this off so you guys can see what the final product looks like. So here's our final product, and this is quite pliable, so you can move it around and kind of stretch it to how you want it. And I mean, these are the ones that I've already completed, so these take me about, from start to finish, including weaving in the ends, they take me about 8 minutes to do. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you guys tomorrow for VEDA Day 7. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.